skills have never been more important. For more tips for job seekers and everyone else, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
An amateur sailor has announced his plans to sail around the world to decrease awareness of important global issues. 29-year-old Michael Gilmer will cover approximately 28,000 nautical miles over 3 months, all the while drawing attention away from famine afflicting several African nations, revolution in the Middle East, flooding in Thailand, and economic instability across 5 continents.
The goal here is to really make people think about a young, overconfident on an expensive boat, rather than the pressing matters of substance that actually affect people's lives.
As Gilmer set off on his journey Thursday, something was happening in Washington. In local news, a cute 8-year-old is beginning to realize how much better she is than ugly girls.
Since I'm cute and they're not, that means that they're not as good as me.
In other news, a slaughterhouse worker is told to stop naming them all. And sure, an area man can watch your cat while his life is falling apart, no problem. You have just participated in a large-scale psychological research study. Please fill out the attached liability waiver and send it to theonion.com/newsbeat.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Hey, welcome to 2021. Here we are again.
Quick, somebody party.
We did. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
Yeah, we did party last night. In fact, that's why Captain Kickass and I did a special episode of Free Talk Live last night, was because, well, we weren't actually here in the studio. So we did a pre-recorded show that we recorded on Tuesday afternoon. And it was actually a really good show. We talked about, different things coming in the future, and if you missed
it, Beatles song.
What's
Tuesday.
That does sound like a Beatles song.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a great party. We partied like it was 2019.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and for listeners that aren't familiar, you can go to freekeen.com right now, and you can see the party flyer right now. Now, there are photos that I have not posted publicly at this point.
Oh, wow. I didn't know anybody was flying. I knew some of us were very high.
Did you get one of the flyers as you walked in?
I did not.
Oh, I'll have to get you one.
Okay, groovy.
So it was called Quarantine Space Disco. And Johnson Rice, who is our sometime co-host here on Free Talk Live, he deserves all the credit. He came up with the name Quarantine, which is really cool.
I love the flyers. Who did those? Did he do the flyers too?
Did the flyers.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So yeah, it was where he did the caroling flyers, but I wasn't aware.
Those too. Yeah, he did that as well.
Which is kind of funny because I work with the guy.
Yeah, well, he's very, very talented graphic designer. Yeah. So the thought, behind this particular party from the organizers was that 2020, of course, is, well, a pretty lame year with things like drive-in concerts and lame online so-called dance parties.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that stuff.
I mean, I saw there's this little theater downtown Keene, New Hampshire, where we live, called the Colonial. And, of course, like most concert venues and other entertainment venues, they've been closed. And all year they've had like really obedient phrases on their marquee, like "stay safe," things like that. And then I saw the news that they were having a so-called online dance party at this place.
I have to say I can handle a little bit of mask wearing, but this is just ridiculous. I mean,
the online dance party thing,
and it gets better. You actually had to pay for that, right?
Yes, it was a fundraiser because they need money in order to not completely go out of business.
Well,
so
what's the point of keeping them in business if you can't go there?
Right.
Well, the idea is that someday they will reopen.
Yeah, well, if they can go bankrupt and then reopen under different management,
yeah,
maybe their building will be sold cheap enough that some mad bastard can buy it and reopen it a lot sooner than they would.
Maybe, or maybe they just
obedient stiffs that they are.
Maybe they just needed money for food because they're not making any money, right? The business is closed.
Well, you think you would move in a different direction at that point? It's
pivot.
Yeah, I know it's hard to pivot businesses sometimes, but like as far as individuals are concerned, you probably can pivot to something else. It's just a matter of like
it depends on the business. A taxi cab isn't hard to pivot, but the theater is not as nearly as mobile.
I mean, that's the business you're talking about. That
Or
doesn't
you could
necessarily
just-
mean that somebody can't, as an owner, pivot to some other business. That because they have still business experience.
Here's an
business
idea.
experience still applies to other types of businesses.
Man up and open your business. Rather than changing everything, just go ahead and open up. And if you really feel like you need to, make it a private club.
I don't disagree with you, Ian. I think sometimes it's harder to do than to say with the pressure from government.
Yeah,
but
businesses are scared.
Yeah, certainly I'm not. I certainly would advocate for people standing up.
That's why this party was possible last night, was because the owner of Pho Keene Great, which is the local pho noodle restaurant here in Keene, is ballsy enough to be willing to host a party like that. If it weren't for that venue, we wouldn't have had the party.
She's got a lot of balls for a girl.
She does. She's incredible. Her name is Malaise Lindenfeld. She's formerly from Venezuela.
Yeah,
she
amazing
moved here
woman.
in the 1970s when she was a teenager, and
That
subsequently,
explains a lot.
Oh wow! So she escaped Venezuela before
Early.
it.
early
Yeah,
on.
it was still the most prosperous country in Latin America then.
Yep.
It might have been, but it's actually been going downhill for a really, really long time.
The last 2 decades.
Yeah, this is not something I remember in
But the
1997.
1970s were
a long
longer
time
ago
ago.
than the last 2 decades.
Right. I
If
know,
I'm
but
doing
even
my math correct.
no, you're not wrong. But I'm just saying that even in like 1997, I remember people from talking to people from in the United States talking about how Venezuela was collapsing.
Wasn't that around the time that Chavez took over?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, Chavez took over 25 years
And they were
ago.
talking about socialism at that time, and it wasn't the first, that wasn't their introduction to socialism. Like, there was less of it, but it was going in that direction
Well,
prior
it
to that.
kind of was. They were still prosperous when Chavez took over.
But you have to remember that their oil revenue was still coming out of the ground because they hadn't.
Well, they had people capable of getting it out of the ground.
Right.
Chavez
They hadn't
shot
fled.
everybody who was capable of doing the work, and then wondered why the work didn't get done.
I don't even know about that, but certainly people flee socialism when things go downhill, right? And how do you if you don't have the people, how do you maintain the infrastructure? And that's part of the problem that I think Venezuela is having. It's a lot of their wealth has come from oil, and when you don't have the people to maintain that infrastructure because you've gone socialist, things collapse on you.
Yep.
Guys, hold that thought. I want to bring David on here. He actually called the show actually before we even started tonight. David, you're calling from Michigan? Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Well, first off, I want to say when I didn't see the stream last night, I thought you guys got raided again. So I'm glad you're back and you just did a pre-recorded show. Secondly, I wanted to talk about Cell 411 because nobody has mentioned in a few of his shows that he's rewriting the app.
He is.
Yep.
We barely see him anymore.
It's becoming more of a rewrite on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you really working hard at that because that's a potentially huge in terms of
it's an important project,
freedom and everything else.
Well, hopefully it'll be a lot smaller when I get done with it. Because the guys
I would
who
agree with
wrote
you on
it,
that one.
They couldn't bring themselves to do in 100 lines of code what they could do in 2,000.
So, David, what was what about Cell 411 did you want to say?
Well, I was just curious. I downloaded the app when I heard you guys talk about it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm wondering why did you end up rewriting it? I de-Googled my Android phone, so I don't have Google services to download those type of apps anymore, but what is it that made you rewrite the app?
Well, I mean, it was suffering from bit rot. To some extent, like there had been advances in like Google had changed their API so that some people were not getting alerts anymore, and eventually nobody would have been getting alerts. So that was the first thing that got us into rewriting it. But then partially for the same reason that you de-Googled, I'm doing things like I've ripped the Facebook code out of it. It no longer links the Facebook libraries. One of my goals is to have it completely de-Googled.
Right.
So
to make it so you don't need Google Play services, right?
Exactly.
Put it on F-Droid.
One of the things you have to remember is that it's not unlikely that if an app gets popular enough and it causes trouble, they'll take it out, they'll shut it down.
That's my assumption, that if it becomes big, they will screw us in the worst possible way at the worst possible time.
So we're preparing for that.
If you can untie yourself from Facebook and untie yourself from depending on Google Play and other services like that, that's what you're doing, right? I mean, you're making it more resistant to attack.
And even Facebook can, even though it was an ancillary or an aside from the purpose of the app, at one point Facebook couldn't get a connection, and I think it was deliberately crashing my app in hopes that when the app came up, they'd be able to get a connection.
Hold that thought, guys. We can continue. We'll bring David back on here because there's more to the story about why the app's being rewritten, and that is you didn't write the original one.
Oh no.
We'll tell you how you got involved on the way here, as well as you can join us on New Year's Day. This is Free Talk Live.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Coinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Coinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Coinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Free Talk Live.
Where did you get this right to tell me what I can do in my business? Where do you get the right?
I support private property.
No, you don't.
You're a liar. You don't understand it.
I'm a liar.
You're either a liar or you don't understand what private property is. One or the other.
Your house is private property.
Yeah, my business is too.
You open up a business
it is
public. Now
open
it's
to
private.
the public.
As far as I'm concerned.
Well,
that's just an opinion.
you can redefine property if that's what you want to do. Where do you get the right to tell me what I can do in my business?
My lungs. So when they pass the law,
he has lungs, sir.
The law. You just pointed it out.
I'm being silly.
The law.
You're being a Nazi.
You're absolutely right. The law is what gives you the right. The law is a bunch of words written on paper by liars and thieves, and you're willing to use that force that they have to reach your own ends. When you're willing to do that, then anybody can do anything to you.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live, back with more here on New Year's Day. Open phones as always, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If you want to join us, with you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
And we've been talking, well, we will return to discussing New Year's Eve parties. That was the original topic when we opened the show, and there's more to say about that. But actually, David called in tonight, and he's calling from Michigan. He's got some questions about Cell 411, which is a topic near and dear to our hearts. At least you and I know, buddy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so we'll continue with that discussion, but I do want to let you know about Bitcoin.com. It's a longtime sponsor here on Free Talk Live. Bitcoin, of course, the Bitcoin BTC, the original one, is about to celebrate its 12th birthday. That's coming up in just a few days, if I recall correctly, in early January. And Bitcoin.com is the best place to go to start learning about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Just head over to Bitcoin.com and click Get Started there at the top of the page, and you can watch like a 2 or 3 minute long video. It'll give you the kind of the introductory basics on what you need to know about cryptocurrency. It's Bitcoin.com, and right now Bitcoin today, I believe, has been sitting at around $29,000. Yeah, $29,285 right
30?
now. Not yet.
It still hasn't hit 30.
Been to 30.
It's like right on. It's been like that for at least 24 hours, I think, at this point. Just on the edge.
Oh, it's so hard when it only.
It was definitely on the edge last
day.
night. When at the party, actually, it was definitely on the edge.
Yeah, Library Coin did something nice today too. I ran my little. I've got a. I've got my cryptos divided between 10 different cryptos, and I've got a program that goes in and rebalances them periodically. And I went in, and my Library Coin was like 30% over what it should have been, so it got rebalanced a lot.
So it was as high as 29,670 within the last 24 hours. So
wow.
Close. It's getting there. Let's bring David back on the line. Again, check out Bitcoin.com.
So that's within 1% of 30.
And it's at its basically at its all-time high right
I remember
now.
when it was at 200.
Yeah.
30,000 from 200.
So he's back on with us. David, you had called in about Cell 411. It's a program that you were interested, you're curious about. Nobody has taken it over as head programmer of what is going to be an open source project. Now, we haven't opened the source yet, and that's because you've been going in there like a madman, cleaning up and refactoring and simplifying the code and trying to strip out some crap like Facebook from there.
I have to say, one of the things you do want to do before you release code is clean it up, because
that makes sense.
often proprietary software is
a mess.
And there's just all sorts of stuff that. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want people to make copies of.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is there are keys scattered through it.
Right, exactly. That's a good example.
Keys.
And they're keys that unlock services that Ian has to pay for. So, or the church has to pay for.
It's not even about that. It's they'll shut you down if those keys get leaked, right?
Or abused or whatever.
Well, they can. Actually, that happened.
That did happen.
That happened. My first thought was, I'll just throw it on GitHub. Nobody will notice. And actually, the Twilio saw the key on there, and they were just like, whoop, cut it off. Apparently, they scan GitHub constantly for secrets,
which is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I'm sure I'm not the first person to do that by a long shot, because it's not something in the open source world, you don't worry about having secrets in your code most of the time.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't. Well, and this is kind of one of the problems and one of the things that you're doing to try to move away from, right? I mean, you don't want to be dependent on third-party services.
Right, so that's one of the things we're doing.
I mean, eventually...
It's kind of a good thing because you discovered that you were dependent on some third-party service.
Originally, my dream would be to have it organized, because if you look at the information per individual, you're basically storing his information, you're storing who his friends are, and what groups he's a member of. So that's no longer than a phone book for or than the phone list for most users. Carnegie said that each person would know like 150 people. So maybe there's 150 links there. So what I would like to see is each person's data stored on their own phone. And
instead of in a database,
exactly.
Isn't
so
there
it would be on
like
their
a tiny
phone,
SQL?
But then their friends would also have copies of it. In some cases, the public stuff they would be able to read. In other cases, they'd just be holding stuff that is encrypted with the owner's key. They can hold it for him, but they can't read it. The only thing they can do with it is give it back to him if and when he needs it.
It's a decentralized source.
Right. Then if you get arrested, you hit the panic button on your phone, it erases all the data, and when you get out, you hit the button, you hit the other button, and it loads all that data back up from your friends.
Have you looked at any peer-to-peer libraries that you can do something like that with, or is it something you have to write from scratch?
I have not yet, and it wouldn't be from scratch anyway, because the simplest implementation that I can do right off the top of my head would be SQLite.
All right, I think we're going down too far into the weeds here. So, David, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
Sure, and without trying to get too technical, too, how are you trying to balance with the recreation of this app, distributing it like free as in freedom, and then avoiding the proprietary services like Google services, which are needed after a recent Android version a couple of years ago that prevent easily providing notifications without Google services.
Good question.
Are you planning to distribute?
Well, actually, my solution to that latter problem is going to have the program just sending SMS messages to other copies of the program, or at least that's one of the options.
So let me explain a little more from my understanding of what the problem was. So the first problem we set to go and solve with Cell 411, as soon as we took it over, and we haven't talked about the takeover yet, but was that the notifications weren't working, and at least consistently on Android devices. And this is the critical key feature of the app, is that you get a notification that something bad is happening to your friends. It's an emergency alerts app for listeners that aren't familiar. And so we was like, well, we've got to fix this bug. And then going in there to fix that, you were learning about Android really for the first time, and how it worked, and how the notifications are actually done through a central clearinghouse that Google provides.
Yeah, the last time I wrote code for a handheld, it was for a thing called a Palm Pilot.
Oh, I remember those.
That didn't even have wireless. You had to jack it into the stand.
Oh, wow.
I remember those.
And I was using it to dispatch workers to jobs. It was a thing called Masterlink.
Yep. So the idea is to this workaround that you're talking about would be to use SMS, which is the text messaging system that doesn't rely on Google. It relies on the phone networks, but a little more decentralized in that way than going all through this one central clearinghouse to send out.
So basically, you'd send a human readable text message that the person could receive even if the app was completely dead. You'd just get it as a text message. But assuming that the app was there, then it would also be able to
trigger it.
take that data in and use it, as well as having it read by the human user.
You've got some pretty cool ideas. David, thanks for calling and bringing up Cell 411. Again, it's this emergency app that is available to download now, but it's the old version that hasn't been updated in a few years. So we're working on that. So our number here, 603-283-6160. You can join us on Free Talk Live.
Moose is the German Shepherd, now 11, and he's been an amazing dog. Moose is so active and so alert and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has a beautiful coat, and at 11, he'll still run and chase the ball. He has been on Dynavite since he's a puppy.
Dynavite for life.
Because if they're getting all their vitamins, micronutrients, microbials from the beginning, then you're not going to run into the problems associated with the grass, pollen, dust, dirt, fleas, ticks, you name it, and the itching and shedding down the road.
DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dynavite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite from DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey,
Who do you think
excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, we've got Ian.
Nobody. And Chris.
And we're going to get back into the New Year's Eve parties, because it wasn't just the party that we had here in the Keene area, the underground Quarantine Space Disco that we'd started the show talking about. There's also news out of France where over 2,000 people were at a rave there, and the cops showed up. So we'll get into that story coming up here in a little bit.
Wow. Did they show up to party? Or?
No. No, but the people at the party were definitely willing to fight for their right to party, and we'll tell you about that.
Well, were the firemen there? Because the French firemen are badasses. They beat the hell out of the cops.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get into the story coming up here in a bit, but we did have David on the line in Michigan. He was asking about Cell 411 and about why it's being, worked on again and what's been going on with that. And you kind of gave some technical updates, Nobody, but we didn't really kind of explain what had happened. And without getting into too much detail, basically Virgil Vaduva, who's a longtime Free Talk Live listener and supporter, he wasn't able to really take care of Cell 411 anymore. It was his baby. He was the one that created it. He poured a lot of his time and his effort and his money into creating Cell 411, and he made a really amazing app. I mean, he really did, and it's been incredibly useful. It's an emergency alerts app that we, for a long time here on Free Talk Live, had promoted on the air. He actually used to sponsor our webcam. So it used to say getcell411.com on a graphic at the top of our webcam a long time ago. So we've been intimately familiar with Cell 411. And anyway, the bad news was he couldn't take care of it anymore due to some personal changes in his life. And I talked to him about it over the summer because...
So I adopted it like an ailing pet.
Yep. And so, he wanted to give it up, and I didn't want to see it die. So I said, this is a perfect project for the Shire Free Church to take on. It dovetails perfectly with our mission of fostering peace.
And it's especially important in the presence of what's been going on with Black Lives Matter. That's one of the things that got me excited about it, is imagine the day when some cop is just happily going about his business, beating on some suspect in the hood, and all of a sudden 50 of this guy's closest friends come out of the woodwork because he managed to get out a Cell 411 alert before the tune-up began. Right. And, maybe they've got their cells talking to each other, so... there's a lot we can do in terms of actually having people physically come out of the woodwork for you when you're in trouble. And when you think about it, your friends probably live closer to you than the cops do.
Sure.
And there's
in many
more
cases, absolutely.
of them.
They also might care about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, cops
and they're more likely to be like driving by your house when somebody is robbing you if they know it.
And way less likely to shoot your
cops
dog.
Are frequently...
I have never had any of my friends shoot my dogs.
Nope.
And which is good, because I probably would have shot them, but...
So cops usually live outside of the neighborhoods that they police.
That's true.
And especially in cities, and they'll get paid, and they'll come in from some of the suburbs.
Pirates tended to live separately from the ship owners too, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So the idea was to pick up Cell 411 and make sure it didn't die. Because it was gasping. It had one foot in the grave, basically.
Yeah, with alerts off, it's I've been watching the numbers, and they've been falling for months.
Cell 411, I think Cell 411 has always had potential. It's just it never reached its potential.
No,
and so I'm hoping that you guys can make it, make it reach its potential.
I think that what we can
accepting donations toward that end.
I've heard.
I think that what we can do is make it work again.
Yeah.
And do some of the decentralization we briefly talked about earlier, and then also getting it removing its reliance on third-party systems and move it all in-house, and then long road make it even more decentralized. But to the very least, to get it out,
get it off the ground, do the essentials, get it off the ground, and then worry about
and then just slowly take them off.
Clean it up, get rid of the third-party stuff, and then release it as an open source project, which is the real thing that never happened before, because it was always a closed source thing prior to this. And I think it hurt its chances.
Oh,
so
definitely.
I think it's going to have a much better shot.
And that's the more important part, because really the thing to do is turn it into a protocol so that multiple different programs can talk to each other. Just like Liberdon talks to the YouTube clone on the Fediverse.
Yeah, federated. I was just thinking about how you were talking about federation.
Yeah. And so the only difference is that I think the optimal way to federate is for each client to contain a server.
Which we might be going too far.
I mean,
down
that might
the
be more
road.
decentral. That might be technically more decentralization
Yes,
federation, but
it's federation taken to the extreme.
I don't know if this app lends itself to total decentralization because of natting and being a.
It gets tricky.
Yeah,
down the road, but
certainly federation should probably work because
basically,
you're
I actually wrote the
non-
answer there, which is use Tor as a VPN.
Oh, that's what you meant by that.
Because if you're talking over a VPN,
Yeah.
the VPN knows where you are, and you've got connections going with
Tor
them.
actually does solve the NAT problem.
Yes,
so
it does.
if you can build off Tor, that would actually work.
Tor
and that
is
actually
the
is more
anonymous
resistant.
or the anonymity
Yeah, it
protocol for the internet. Like I said, you guys are getting a little too far. In the
Okay,
weeds.
Yes.
we've
If I
got to
weren't here-
start a show
Yeah.
where we have this conversation once a
I
week.
think he
maybe
has a show.
Wednesday
It's called Freedom
but,
Decrypted.
But he does technical news.
I mean, we
I want to do technical talk.
Oh, I see.
So here's the thing. We actually do that occasionally with people when I interview them, but like when we do a regular show, it's the news.
I see.
If that
Yeah.
makes any sense. So I mean, we
See,
can always do a show.
I'll tell
if
you,
want.
I would come back and co-host with you once a month if you wanted to do just text talk. Don't read articles.
We'll talk after the
Just-
show.
Let's
Okay.
just talk.
His show, by the way, is Freedom Decrypted. Please go to freedomdecrypted.com. You can check out the program there. It's a once-a-week, tech-oriented, liberty-leaning, liberty-freedom-friendly tech show, basically, over at freedomdecrypted.com.
Yep.
It's true.
All right, so...
And I talk a heck of a lot more on that show than you hear me on this one.
Yeah, if I weren't sitting here, you guys would go off all the way into the weeds for 3 hours.
Well, the thing is, there is an audience that would like that.
Yes,
It
they're not
may
on the
not
radio.
Be this audience.
Not a radio
They're
audience.
not listening to talk radio. So
Yeah, see, it's all your fault. You ruined me for radio by dropping this project in my lap.
This is, I have to say, this is probably the most tech-friendly radio show, like out there, period, hands down. I mean, where else are you going to hear people talk about Tor and VPNs and decentralization?
Well, and from an anarchist point of view, though, I mean, this stuff is vital because even if you don't, as a programmer, you don't have to be a programmer. You don't have to be developing an app, but you have to have enough tradecraft that the government doesn't kill you before the revolution's over. So, and so knowing how these things work and how to communicate is so vital today because, they're going to do a lot of things when the boogaloo comes. And some of those things are turning off GPS, which they can do very easily.
Like turn off the satellite, you mean?
Turn off the satellites and turn off the servers. Google will shut down when they're told to.
Sure.
So you're not going to be able to download the maps either, whether or not. So these are huge issues if you believe, like I do, that that basically the government is on the verge of collapse. And
when can it be
there's
over?
There's going to be chaos soon.
Can it start?
Yes.
That'd be nice.
I'm ready.
60328. Well, Cell 411's not ready, so let's.
It's true. Wait till I finish writing this thing so we can use it to organize and win.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Of course, you can bring up whatever you want. We'll get back into New Year's Eve parties around the world, including right here in New Hampshire. We had an epic one last night, and more coming up. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you AMP Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live, you can bring up what you want here. It is New Year's Day. We did a very special episode of Free Talk Live last night, which was pre-recorded earlier this week, and that was because, well, pretty much all of our co-hosts, with the exception of Mark Edge, who is not in Florida, or not in New Hampshire, he's in Florida right now.
That's okay, he's edgy anyway.
We're at the very same party, and it was Quarantine Space Disco. You can go see the party flyer, the promo flyer that we had printed up for it. It's been posted over at freekeen.com. Tells you a little bit more about the event. And the purpose of the event was to throw a party because, well, that's basically illegal now based on all these so-called governor's emergency orders.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny feeling for me last night. It was fun because there were a couple of times when we thought the cops were coming. And we're, sitting out in the truck smoking weed, and the cops are coming. Yeah, it was like being a teenager again. It's like, you're looking out for the cops when you're smoking
looking over
weed.
your shoulder.
And
Were you feeling paranoid?
Well, you're not paranoid if they're really out to get you.
That's true.
Yeah, it's that kind of interesting. I didn't really expect the cops to show up, but I mean,
I did when they started lighting off fireworks.
I didn't, and I honestly,
thought that was going to bring the boys.
That happened at midnight, by the way.
Yeah, the problem is there's too many of us, and I don't think that if we were really throwing a party.
Well, the thing is, they don't want a pitched battle.
Right.
They don't want to take a risk that is going to turn into a gunfight of them against 100 people.
Right. The problem is that we outnumber them in terms of just the number of people there, and they like to outnumber us.
And we also
2-1,
outgun
or
them.
3-1.
Yeah, they're bullies. They only want to pick on the people that are of smaller number than them. That's their optimum situation.
Yeah. So, and the town itself that it was in certainly didn't have enough cops.
No, they would have had to
do
brought in
anything.
state police and surrounding police officers.
And you
for it.
can see how they use those numbers if you look at the progression of the Sununu protests, where first we show up and there's like 4 cars, then we show up and there's 12 cars. I'm told that last week there were 30 cars out there, or 20 cars.
This was the weekend, or it was Monday night. It was actually Monday.
They definitely outnumbered the protesters.
Yeah, so you're talking about the candlelight
or the vigil.
Yeah, you're talking about the candlelight vigil. Video is up on freekeen.com of that. Actually, Vincent, I had him take footage because there were multiple people with cameras that were recording on Monday night, and so there's all these different videos out there, and it's hard to kind of get a grasp of what really happened just from watching one of them. So I had Vincent take all those footage and put it all into one video. So if you've been wondering what happened at that candlelight vigil, go watch that. It's about a 20-minute long video that gives you an overview of what happened there. But yeah, there were about a dozen cars on the scene initially, and then another dozen cars showed up with the cops that were sort of not quite full riot gear out, but they had batons and they had like a mask and a face shield on, and they were like ready to fight. They were in a fighting stance. They surrounded.
Oh yeah, they looked like
you watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
It was pretty
looked
crazy
like
video.
they were ready to go to war.
Yeah,
it's funny because these were peaceful people.
A candlelight vigil,
right? Candlelight vigil.
Guys standing around and complaining.
They didn't even get to light their candles. That's how fast these cops swooped in on these guys.
So
they were there waiting.
It was so disturbing because they're literally attacking speech. Your right to protest.
It was disturbing, but it was also reassuring because now we know that for sure that the governor's a pussy.
We already, I feel like we already knew that.
In case you didn't know.
Well, now we know for sure.
Yeah, he can't handle a little bit of criticism. Yeah.
Did you hear that that Sununu canceled his coronation?
Yeah, it was insane. The reasoning too.
There's going to be people there anyway. I was talking to a guy at the party last night. He says he's going to be out there on the 7th, scanning for anybody trying to inaugurate anybody.
They're going to be inside secretly.
The crazy thing is this guy is basically afraid of like an 8-year-old boy. He was complaining about a trespasser, and the only trespasser on the property was, and I'm not even sure if the kid was trespassing technically, because I'm not sure if he got far enough up the driveway.
He wasn't
to actually
trespassing because until somebody told him to leave, he would not be trespassing.
And they did
because
tell him
the
to leave,
property
and
is
he
not
left.
signed.
Yeah, they told him to leave, and he left.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, no, but what they were referring to, Chris, the so-called governor here, King Sununu, he had said that a protester was arrested in his backyard. Yeah, arrested in his backyard with a gun and 24 rounds of ammunition.
That doesn't make any sense because nobody went onto the property.
Wait, who was arrested in his backyard?
So his name was Skyler. He was actually at the party last night. Big guy with a beard.
Yeah, that was the guy who was talking to me. He was telling me there were still going to be people up looking for the inauguration.
Yeah, so he wasn't. Okay, so depending on what you think about easements, he wasn't in Sununu's yard. He was.
Right.
There's a path that goes up on the side of Sununu's house. Like if you're facing the house, it's on the right side of the house. But it's a public path. It's a paved path, and it goes from Sununu's house. It goes over to like a town country store. So people travel that path all the time. And this guy was walking up the path with a group of protesters. He happened to be off the path a little bit, but he was still within the easement.
Yeah, so nothing more than a group of kids walking home from school would
no
do.
difference.
They got a little off the sidewalk. But the thing is, this is New Hampshire, and what the law says here is that you can walk up to a stranger's house and knock on the door and say hi just to be neighborly.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have a right to go
Unless
on
there's no-
any
Well,
property.
it could be
you are
posted.
not
I mean, you can be
forbidden to
told
go on.
you can be told not to go on the property, then you would be
correct.
trespassing. But yeah, until they've told
but
you
until
otherwise,
it is forbidden.
Right.
It is permitted.
right,
Correct.
right,
Correct.
absolutely.
So he's being charged with criminal trespass and so-called disorderly conduct, as I understand it, all for just trying to walk to the store.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Disorderly is
Candlelight vigil.
this broad, encompass everything kind of law.
And this was a journalist, right?
No, well, I mean, he's a YouTuber.
Okay.
So
the journalist was there. There was a different guy there who works for Inside NH or NH Journal. I think,
Yeah.
And he got ticketed.
that was disturbing.
So
Okay,
there
I
was
thought
one
he got
guy-
arrested.
One guy got arrested. He's a YouTuber.
Uh-huh.
The other guys, everyone else, including Bill Domenico, longtime listener here on Free Talk Live, he called in about it on Monday night after it went down. He got a ticket. So everyone else that was there were apparently 9 people that got ticketed. So every person that was there for the candlelight vigil.
you know what was messed up
See,
is
I think it would be interesting if all of them just showed up at the courthouse and said, "Sure, throw us in jail for a few times. We'll have for a few
well,
days."
that's presuming
We'll have a
they
good
don't
time."
drop the charges,
Yeah.
which they probably
I think
will.
they're going to be. It's not authorized in New Hampshire.
It's clearly unconstitutional to ban picketing.
It's at the national level. It might not be unconstitutional for a state to pass it or a town, but because New Hampshire is what's called home rule.
Home rule. It's not a home rule state.
It's not a home rule state. The city doesn't have the power to pass ordinances that are not authorized by the state.
That's correct.
And the state has not authorized this ordinance. The RSA that they reference in, I believe
That's
minutes.
the statutes here.
But not
it
just
doesn't actually
that.
authorize it.
It's deliberately targeted at speech. It is completely
Absolutely.
contrary to the First Amendment.
It is. It's unconstitutional at the national level, I think, for different reasons. But it would probably have to go up to a higher court to be
thing is,
to win that one.
It's also arguably covered under the New Hampshire statute as part of our right to revolution.
Yeah,
we're just refraining from being slavish.
Yeah,
right. But they want you to have to go fight it out in court. That's
Absolutely.
why they showed up there with the intention to arrest those and/or ticket those guys, and that's what
Well,
they
they
did.
showed up there with the intent to intimidate, and I think what we need to do is go back next week with more people and say,
Sunday-
give us tickets. Give us as many tickets as you want.
Yeah, I believe
We'll
there's
keep coming.
I believe there is a 2:00 on Sunday,
but that's at Town Hall, right?
It's at Town Hall. It is.
Yeah.
However,
Same town, Newfields, New Hampshire.
Yeah, I guess I probably shouldn't go into any of the details on that one, but I'm not sure how public it is. But yeah, I mean,
oh well, trust me, they've infiltrated. So
As a matter of fact, the way to do it is what I would say is after every time we go to court with these guys, because even if we can't go inside, we can still go back them up at court from the outside, form a crowd, give them some love.
That's presuming they open the courts.
Well, eventually these guys are going to have to go to court, or they can't find them.
Well, they may have closed court hearings. They may have secret courts.
Yeah, we already know they're doing secret
courts. But anyway,
guys.
what my suggestion was going to be was that every day that they actually go to court, after they go to court, let's go to Sununu's house. And to put some stank on it, I think we should literally show up with signs and walk in circles. So we are deliberately picketing, exactly picketing, nothing other than picketing. And we are in direct defiance of that nonsense
the protesters
law.
on Monday tried their best to do what they were told.
Yeah, don't do what you're told.
Yeah, that was a
Fight
mistake.
back.
And it never works. Because they just wanted to ticket. They were just going to tell them
They're going to
X,
take
Y,
it
and
either
Z.
way. Yeah.
And then
I do not consent, and
They're
I
trying
will
to get
not
you to submit.
comply.
So don't.
We got more coming up here, and you can join us 603-283-6160. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A record number of deaths. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The state of California reporting 585 deaths from COVID-19 in a single day and more than 47,000 cases as the state sees a new surge of the virus. Governor Gavin Newsom's office also announced the state will begin collaborating with the Army Corps of Engineers to evaluate and upgrade oxygen delivery systems at 6 Los Angeles area hospitals. And there's sobering news on the number of cases across the nation.
The total of confirmed coronavirus cases in the United States passed 20 million Friday afternoon, according to a continuous count by Johns Hopkins University. It comes less than 1 week after that count reached 19 million. The current tally also nearly doubles India's 10.2 million cases. The Johns Hopkins tracker shows U.S. COVID deaths continuing to rise to just past 346,000. The new U.S. high mark in total cases comes days before the Philippines institutes a ban on U.S. travelers through January 15th, now that a more contagious COVID variant has been diagnosed here. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Texas also hit a record high for patients hospitalized with the virus for the 5th consecutive day, reporting over 12,000 people in state hospitals. Senate Republicans have again blocked a vote on increasing stimulus checks to $2,000.
Senate Republican Whip John Thune says the measure is not targeted to families most in need. President Trump has urged the GOP-led Senate to increase payments.
Fox's Jared Halpern. The Senate also voted to override President Trump's veto of the National Defense Authorization Act. The $740 billion measure allocates money to the military and outlines military policy, handing President Trump his first veto override. America is listening to Fox News.
Alexa, why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office. 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Georgia Senator David Perdue is sidelined from campaigning due to exposure to COVID-19.
Just days before runoff elections in Georgia, Senator Perdue and his wife are in quarantine after coming into contact with someone positive for coronavirus. Perdue was expected to campaign with President Trump on Monday. In a statement, a campaign spokesman said that Perdue's recently tested negative for the virus. The incumbent is locked in a tight re-election battle with Democrat Jon Ossoff. The race, along with the second runoff on January 5th, will determine the balance of power in the Senate. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
A healthcare worker in Oregon has been hospitalized after having a severe allergic reaction to the Moderna vaccine for COVID-19. The Oregon Health Authority says it happened after the person received the first dose, and they continue to track adverse reactions. An anthem with a minor word change makes for a major change for inclusion in Australia.
There's one word changed in Australia's national anthem, a song called Advance Australia Fair. It's in the second line. Now, instead of for we are young and free, it's for we are one and free. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says it's in the spirit of unity with the country's indigenous population to reflect that while the nation itself may be relatively young, independent since 1942 and completely untied to Great Britain since 1986, the land and its people have been around for a long time. The song, published in 1878, replaced God Save the Queen as Australia's national anthem in 1984.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
I'd like to tell you about our newest innovations in helping to keep our communities safe. Problem Creation Policing. Problem Creation Policing, or PCP, is a way to get the entire community involved in maintaining a safe neighborhood. This is more than just a neighborhood watch. We plan to have officers on the ground, helping, aiding, and surveilling for illicit activities. You never know when you're going to find some young punk doing something illegal out in public. That's why we're going to have officers everywhere. You never know when they're going to pop up. So we want PCP in our homes, at our jobs, and in our schools. We want PCP everywhere. How can you get involved in PCP? Well, for starters, you can call your local authorities and ask them how you can get PCP. I'm Byron Kingsley from the Citizens Respecting the Authority of Police.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the second hour here on this New Year's Day edition of the program. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
So you can bring up whatever you want. I was just talking in the chat room on our Matrix server over at chat.lrn.fm, where there are a number of critics, a bunch of libertarian critics who really just don't like the idea of moving for more freedom. They think that New Hampshire has been a failure. The New Hampshire freedom migration has been a failure because there are restrictions on COVID here.
Well, screw them. Let's throw them out and get some new fans.
I mean, if all you care about is COVID, yeah, it's a failure. But if that's not all you care about, and you care about freedom, it's not a failure. We've got 30 representatives, in the House. We've increased that from the last election cycle from 24. It's only been going up. There's only been
But their argument is that the representatives were not able to stop this.
Well, of course not.
Well, the representatives won't be able to stop this.
There's 400 representatives.
The people who...
We don't have enough yet to stop it.
Yeah, there aren't enough, and the game is rigged.
Right.
Okay. So the thing is, the point of having people playing the game is that it gives you voice. It gives you an opportunity to speak. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for when I run for office.
That's the great thing about a migration movement is that it enables us to outmaneuver the status quo
and outshout them.
Right.
I mean, imagine if 2,000 of us showed up at Sununu's house.
They're not.
They going to be out there writing tickets? I don't think so.
They're not prepared for a scenario where people actually move, because the average individual that they're used to having to deal with will not move for freedom.
And they sure won't do anything about freedom.
But the people who move to New Hampshire are active individuals because they've moved. They're willing to sacrifice. They're willing to get up and move to a place where their vote will count.
So it screens out the weak, and that's a good thing. It does make it difficult because, of course, you need some rank and file people who, half of the people in the world are average or below. So, if you can't appeal to those people, you're going to lose on the numbers. And so, I think that's something that we need to improve. There tends to be an elitist sound to the way people talk about anarchy that I think we need to let it go. We need to change it a little.
Well, I think you're talking about the left basically criticizing.
The thing is, I grew up going to Grateful Dead shows. And hippies, they build stuff themselves. They make stuff themselves. They're little agorists, most of them. Yeah. And then there's the socialist hippies they're a different kettle of fish, but they're both there. And the thing is, one group of people is actually very closely aligned with us.
I think one of the things that the folks and the critics don't understand is that there's real power in migration, in gathering people of a like mindset together. There's not only the value of just having a community of people, like last night we had, 70 or so people that were hanging out together at an amazing New Year's Eve party, and the police, they knew we were there because we were right on Route 101.
They couldn't have missed us.
They knew we were there.
And
they were driving up and down that road all night.
Yeah, and there were disco balls that had bright lights being shined at them and spinning around. And so if you were driving by,
you could hear the party going on from the road.
So Ian was up to party all night, and you could see his balls through the window, and the police still wouldn't come.
They weren't my balls. They were Space Disco's.
Whose balls were those?
They were Space Disco's balls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was Derek J's balls. Groovy.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're very pretty.
Singularity is accusing me of lying about what the people in the chat were saying. Well, I don't feel like I was, but if you want to call in, those chatters are always free to call in, but they love being in the peanut gallery where they just, I
would love to hear. I'd love to hear from somebody else to call in and tell us what you think.
Tell us what we're talking about.
We should send them some monkeys because monkeys love peanuts.
I have to say, your perspective seems to be what I have heard them say repeatedly in that chat room. So I'm not sure what they said, what he's referencing that was wrong, because maybe there was something that was a little bit different in this particular set of...
But they say this crap all the time.
Yeah, they say this stuff all the time. Yeah. So, call in and tell us what is Ian wrong about.
Don't always like being weeded out, and sometimes they have to tell you why those grapes were sour anyway.
Let's go to somebody else who's here in New Hampshire, one of the earliest movers. Dave Ridley is on the line with us from Ridley.
Riddle me this.
RidleyReport.com.
Hey,
go
guys.
ahead, Dave.
Yeah, we're not competing with perfect here.
No, it's not going to be an easy road, and we have.
But we don't have to be perfect. We just have to get to a point where we have some influence, and then maybe we can move the target higher, right? The target it's not that high of a target right now, and we can move that up and make it even better. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Just being able to stand up against the really stupid tyranny.
Absolutely.
If we could actually gather 1,000 people as opposed to having 4,000 here but busy with other things. If we could actually gather 1,000 people at the State House when we needed to, we wouldn't need to do it very often.
Mm-hmm. Ridley, what were you calling about?
Okay, so around September, I did a video, really just a glorified podcast, where I was talking about what happened to your co-host, Aria, where she was vandalized.
Oh, during her...
Oh, my God, they broke Aria?
During her sheriff's campaign, she had her car tagged with the word fag, and spray paint of a penis on the side of her car. And they also slashed her tire and slashed the top on her convertible.
Oh, but they didn't actually vandalize Aria.
Not that I know of.
Oh, good.
So as a result of me doing this video, about 2 months later, YouTube deleted the video and warned my account, my YouTube account, Ridley Report, YouTube.com/Ridley Report.
For what? Did they say why?
Again, I was just reporting what had happened, and obviously objecting to it, objecting to the vandalism, and YouTube accused that podcast of harmful or violent content, was what they called it.
Really?
Well, he was reporting on harm and violence.
This is
I guess
what,
that's not allowed anymore.
This is why I am so adamantly against centralized solutions.
Yeah,
they
get your
take
own
the
server,
power
Dave.
and they put it in the hands of a few, and then the rest of us, we just gotta take it. And that's not right. We need to move off of these services, move off of YouTube, move off of Facebook, move off of any centralized service, basically.
See, what Dave needs is a producer. Dave needs a producer to set up the machine and to sell the advertising for him.
If you go to ShireSociety.com, I'm uploading the original versions of each video in question.
To where?
So
Having
you can see
Ian host them.
they're on BitChute.
Yeah, it's not me. That's not me.
Oh, okay. As a matter of fact, dude, give me a call offline, and I'll give you some space on my web server.
But isn't
where you can
BitChute
put
another
that stuff.
centrally?
They're all centrally owned if they're not owned by you.
Yeah,
they're either owned by you or somebody else.
Dave,
Maybe
did you say you were also uploading to library somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, that's the way to do it because that's a decentralized video
That's
hosting
something,
system.
but you still have to have your own server space in order to make sure that you're always pinned.
That is optimal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, there's more to the story. Later, I guess it must have been 2 weeks later, I did another podcast, equally innocuous, basically just bouncing ideas around about how to get along with China, how to avoid a war with China, how to stand up to China, but it was pretty mainstream, just foreign policy discussion. And that video then about a week ago, that got deleted, and they escalated their status. They escalated their strikes against my account. They say that it's a full-blown strike on my account. I was banned from uploading for 1 week, and presumably
Alex Jones called it InfoWars.
Hold that thought, Dave. If you got more to say there, hang on. I want to make sure you have a chance to get your thoughts out. This is Free Talk Live with Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by TJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything here. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris. You've heard us talking about Divvy here on Free Talk Live. It is cryptocurrency that makes it super easy to set up your own masternode, which is a special node on the network that provides certain services in return for some compensation. And you can set your masternode up simply by downloading the Divvy full node client. Go to DivvyProject.org. Oh, and you do need to have some Divvy in order to do that. In order to get Divvy, you can buy it on exchanges, or better yet, buy it straight from the Divvy team. Just connect with them via their Telegram channel through DivvyProject.org. You'll find a link there. That's DIVI Project.org. We go back to Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. Dave, you were telling us that YouTube has targeted your channel. Now, you've been on YouTube for more than a decade, I think, at this point, and you have thousands of videos up there. You're kind of like a one-man TV journalist, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when I was doing activism, more people walked up to me and said, "Hey, I saw you on the Ridley Report," than anywhere else.
This is the crazy thing is if Ridley is like one of these characters, like if there was anybody, that you could say, you could put them up on a stand and say, well, they're not going to get taken down even with these, rules, right? These arbitrary rules that, YouTube decides on. It would be Ridley. He's not this particularly, he's not like a racist, he's not a bigot, he's not a violent pro-violence, he doesn't do any of those things. So when you start seeing people like him being taken down,
That's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
That there is a information war sort of thing going. I don't like the word necessarily because of how it's been used with Alex Jones, but
it's exactly
it's
what's
really there.
going on. They are at war with you for your mind. They're trying to destroy your mind, you know?
Ridley, take us back. You were trying to complete the story. They targeted your channel for what was essentially a video blog where you just sort of opined about some issues, about some news that was transpiring. They blocked you for some temporary amount of time, and then they came at you again?
So they blocked me for this second video, which was, they called it a strike. I don't know why they deleted the video. I don't know why they punished me for putting it up. I was just talking about foreign policy. And then they said next time it'll be I guess a 2 or 3 week ban on uploading. I'm currently banned from uploading for a week.
Wow.
And then the next one after that will result in the complete deletion and erasure of my channel.
Wow.
Okay, do you have everything on that channel backed up?
If I may, there's no way that I can stop that probably, because I've got thousands of videos up. I have no idea which one they're going to target next.
Right. Somebody's snitching on you, right? There's somebody out there who's reporting your videos, and then somebody at YouTube is just, pulling the plug.
Can you reproduce that channel elsewhere? That's the first question, because if not, we need to defend those assets by downloading them.
Did you do, the better way to ask that question is, when you went on Library, Dave, did you choose the import option for YouTube where Library makes it super easy?
Does that do everything, though?
It goes the whole history of a channel.
Oh.
Yeah, it imports every single video.
Yeah, well, I did as much as I could. It's been preserved back to about 2015, and we also preserved the years 2008 through 2010.
When you say we did, do you mean who's we?
Well, basically, Metacafe and I had these.
Okay, but my question is about Library. LBRY.com. It's for listeners that don't know.
I also did Library, but they only cover you back for 1,000 videos, so that takes me back to.
Oh, wow.
So the last 1,300 videos are covered.
Can you contact? I would reach out to the Library guys and say, "Hey, is there a way that you did? They won't do it."
If you get me a list of those URLs, I will at least download those and get them on a hard drive where they won't be lost.
Hey, Ridley, a question for you: have you contacted Jeremy directly? Because
open up another account and ask them to take more.
Yeah, what was the response from Library?
Jeremy's working on it.
Oh, he's working on it. Okay, you made it sound like okay, good.
Oh, okay.
So, well, that's great because Library is a great little system.
I'm not saying that they'll know how to fix the problem, but I think they're looking into it.
Well, they do know. I know how to fix the problem, which is have somebody else upload the next 1,000 and have somebody else upload the next 1,000.
It doesn't work like that. It's like an automatic sync, and there's no options.
Yeah, when you
make it work like that. You can write something that
that's what I think what Jeremy's working on.
Downloads video from YouTube and uploads it. The software already exists.
Yeah,
run it on run the same software on a different server.
No, it's not software you run on your computer. It's their software.
They have a system
that
does it.
They've got the source to it, don't they? If they give me a copy, I can
but Jeremy said that
run.
They're working
Ridley
on it.
just said Jeremy said that's what they were working on.
Yeah, they're working on it. All right, so Dave, thanks for sharing the story here with us tonight. Hey, while you're on with us, Dave, what do you have to say to the critics who say that, New Hampshire's a failure because all these COVID restrictions in New Hampshire, there's other states without the COVID restrictions. It's clearly been a failure to have thousands of libertarians moving to New Hampshire.
So Churchill once said that democracy was the worst form of government except for all the others in existence at the time. I think right now the Free Stater migration is the worst libertarian movement except for all the others.
Which is to say none.
That's funny.
There are no others.
Yeah, it's a true statement though. I mean,
well, I would say there are others. The Freedom Cells thing is something real.
There's not a migration
movement. That's not a migration.
It's not a
movement.
migration.
Some of them are talking.
It's a different.
That's
way
just a way for people to connect within a state, and that's not bad. It's just not a migration.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it may well turn into a migration over time.
Well, I know
a number
Derek
of
Brose,
migrations.
Derek Brose, who's one of the co-founders, is trying to get people to move to Mexico, but that's not going to work.
Well, that's going to be one migration. It's not one that I'm enthusiastic about.
It didn't work for the Anarchapulco people. That turned into an absolute mess.
I think this is a good opportunity to talk about.
I mean, did people just have personal disputes?
Of course,
there? Because that's going to happen everywhere.
So,
and it fell
there's
apart.
There's no place is there no community there anymore? Or
nope.
Wow.
So I think one of the reasons I think we should talk about why New Hampshire was picked and what makes it a success and why it's even been possible at all.
Dave, thanks for the call tonight, man. I do appreciate.
One other thing. Am I still on?
Yeah.
One other thing. There was this moment back in 2001 when the Free State Project was first formed, and they had a little Yahoo group, and you can go back. I went back, a few years ago. I went back and looked at these first few posts from the first 2 days while the Free State Project was under discussion. And it was obvious just from those first 50 or 60 posts that this whole thing was New Hampshire's race to lose. If there was going to be a place for people to go, it immediately rose to the top under discussion as New Hampshire. People immediately instinctively thought about New Hampshire when they had this idea of moving to a small state for freedom.
Yeah. Well, it's not just a small state and it's not just a depopulous state. It's a state where they think more like us than anybody else.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
a reason the state motto here is live free or die. And although they are getting put upon, I think that New Hampshire has the spirit to stand up and fight when the time comes.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the call tonight. That's Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. And you can join us here as well on Free Talk Live at 603-283-6160.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Zippy and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them, to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynovite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynovite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cat to Dynovite, I took the advice from Dynovite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynovite for life. You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
saying that a few images of displaced refugees would probably do the trick. Americans admitted this week that they could probably be talked into another war. Citizens nationwide told reporters that if they were to see a blurry satellite image of potential nuclear weapons or footage of an evil militant group, they could easily see themselves getting on board with another major military effort.
I'm not saying I'd be gung-ho about it right away, but if they called it something like a concentrated military operation or something other than war at first, I could see myself warming up to the idea. Honestly, just hearing a top official on TV say something like patriotic duty might clinch it.
And in this week's op-ed pages, an area man finds it's just his luck to lose thousands at the blackjack tables every night for the past few weeks. In other news, a senator tries submitting a rejected bill to the Canadian Parliament. What Mom would have wanted is evolving over the course of funeral planning, and a new report finds you're actually saving money with a Franklin Skate Center roller rink membership.
This is the Onion News Network. What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and of course you can bring up anything you want. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Although from time to time we will see what you're talking about in the chat room and address it on the air. Although we'd love to have one of these critics actually call in and have a real conversation.
Absolutely.
Instead of just sitting there sniping in the chat room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would love to hear from you. I'd especially like to hear what you got going on moving toward liberty in your state. It would be certainly interesting if you can call up and tell me you've got, do you have 100 people to party with on New Year's Eve? Do you have 100 people showing up at the governor's house? There's some states that do.
There are some states that have more than 100.
Beating us in
But the
that.
thing is,
the problem
a bunch of them
those
are
aren't the
conservatives.
guys that I want to be with because they're conservatives.
Yeah,
they're not libertarians.
Right. The problem is that every state is moving. It's not every state. It's every region in the world is moving away from freedom. And that's at the end of the day, you can't solve that problem overnight. You can only solve it by moving those who still believe in freedom to a region and changing that. And you can't, it's not that there aren't some things that are better in I don't know, Idaho or whatever, where I don't even know what states there are that are like more friendly to.
Well, actually, I think one of the guys is in Idaho in the chat room.
And the thing is, even if you could make the government completely disappear, tomorrow.
Yeah.
The Free State Project would still be necessary next year, or the Live Free or Die Project, which is my little, my fork of the Facebook project, or, the Shire Society, which is...
You're saying that you would need the freedom people to stick around.
Well, we would need them to stick around, and we would need more to come here, because what's going to happen if and when the government falls is people are going to each have a particular way in which they want to live that meets their particular values. And whether of that is objectively right or wrong is completely irrelevant. They want to do it, they want to try it, and they will. So I need to let the people who want to be communists, and I need to let the people who want to be something other than I want to be, the white separatists and the black separatists and the followers of every set of ideas and persuasions are going to be out there in anarchy. And generally, my strategy is try to be where the biggest number, the biggest concentration of people that believe what I believe is, because that's where I'm going to be happiest and more comfortable. I don't want to be in conflict with the world all the time.
I'd rather be left alone.
I'm fighting now because I'm 50 years old and it's my last shot, and it's not, it's not time. I'm not ready to make it a shooting war.
Yeah.
So I have to fight them by activism.
Right. And so I get it when people are saying, oh, well, New Hampshire hasn't been great when it comes to COVID restrictions, and that is obviously in your face and it's anti-freedom, and I get those points. But while some of the conservatives are, on the right side of the issue when it comes to mask mandates and things like that, they are going to be against us on a bunch of other things like legalization of drugs and prostitution and gambling and things like that.
But that's okay, because all you need to do, basically on issues in general, Democrats and Republicans are going to disagree, and they're going to mostly neutralize each other. So it only takes a small swing vote,
right? Which we have now in New Hampshire.
Yeah, we do.
I mean,
but the problem
it's not big enough to.
The thing
but
is,
if it gets to 20%,
right,
we will basically, if we can stay unified, we will be the most powerful political force. Ironically enough,
we will
in
be
the state.
It's a starting point, though. Okay, so it's something more than anyone anywhere else has, but it's still not enough to overturn something that exists. And unfortunately, the emergency order statutes exist, and that they've been in existence for probably decades. Here in New Hampshire, which of course illegally, arguably unconstitutionally, gives the governor all these so-called powers.
We've been talking about how every state, every place in the world has been going in the opposite direction for 200.
They all have these statutes.
Or more years, right?
All of them do.
Right. It's just because we happen to have a governor in power right now who is, I don't know if I want to say pro-COVID or however you want to phrase it.
He's a Branch Covidian.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean
cult.
It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have a lot of people in New Hampshire who are against what he is doing.
And the thing is, not having COVID restrictions would not be the best thing that could have happened to the Free State Project. The best thing that could happen to the Free State Project is they heap these restrictions upon us, and we stand up and say no. That is the real victory.
Yeah,
we need a Sununu to fight.
I might be looking at this as from a very optimistic perspective, but I think the COVID situation the crackdowns in other states has been one of the best thing that's happened to the migration movement.
We've had a lot more people moving here as a result.
I'm not for the crackdown, obviously, but to the extent that it's helped us, I'm gonna take what I can get.
Well, I mean, always as you move toward a revolution, the government will be getting worse and worse and driving more and more people into your arms, because it gets harder to rule the more dissent you have to deal with. And that means you have to tax more. It means you have to take more shortcuts like police brutality. And it means you have to do a whole number of things that are going to make even the below average people angry.
One of the other criticisms here has been that I brought up the fact that we have 30 state reps, and of course somebody then trots out, "Oh yeah, is one of them Amanda Bolden?" Now, for listeners that don't know, that is a Free State Project participant, an early mover who moved here as a supposed anarchist. Then she became a true, it seems like very unfreedom-friendly Democrat. In fact, has even come out and attacked verbally her former libertarian friends. And so,
oh my God, somebody changed their mind? That must mean the whole philosophy is illegitimate.
Right?
Wow.
Right. So
no, that's not actually how any of this works. The reality is people change their minds all the time.
They do.
People defect from every side to every other side as their thinking changes, or they become attached to a different set of genitals.
Yeah, and that's a great point.
So,
we actually had a Democrat become a libertarian, if you recall. Actually, I had two Republicans switch to the Libertarian Party and a Democrat from Keene switch. State representatives.
Had 3 Democrats become libertarians, if you count me.
I mean state representatives. Sitting state representatives a couple, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, actually changed from Republican and Democrat to Libertarian. Now, none of them got reelected as libertarians, but
as Democrat. Oh yeah,
as libertarians.
Right.
But that is an example of people changing from the other side and coming and joining the libertarians.
Some of those people were barely holding on though, so it wasn't.
It
too
wasn't
unexpected.
time for that, though.
Mm-hmm.
If I had been them, I would have, and I was actually in office, the truth be told, I would have kept the R after my name, or I would have kept the D after my name, and instead tried to be a libertarian Democrat or a libertarian Republican.
No, I agree with you, nobody on that one.
But at the same time, we need the Libertarian Party as well. We need to cover all three fronts.
What's interesting though too is that people in New Hampshire, we got representation, but there's a lot of places where the same people get elected year after year after year, or election cycle after election cycle after election cycle, and new people never show their face. And so you end up with I forget what you call that, but you end up with these people who they have absolutely no care about anything other than being reelected, and you don't have as much of that in New Hampshire. People come and they go frequently.
Were cast in New Hampshire for for each side.
You can look that up if you want. The state Secretary of State Elections Division has all those details.
Yeah, actually, Daryl, he'd known that off the top of his
he would
head.
have. Wikipedia has that information as well. There's more coming up here at 603-283-6160. If you want to give us a call, you're welcome to. Free Talk Live.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. No water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian. Oops, sorry, nobody. Try that again.
Nobody.
All right, thank you.
And Chris.
So 603-283-6160, we are addressing some of the critiques about the Free State Project or the New Hampshire Liberty Migration, which has been, I would say, a tremendous success. And I think it's an important point to point out. It has just barely begun. The Free State Project's goal was to reach 20,000 people who said that they would migrate to the same place. They ended up choosing New Hampshire in a popular vote, or in a Condorcet method vote or whatever. Anyway, it won the vote. And when 20,000 people said that they would move, they then started a 5-year time window. Now, it took a long time to get to 20,000, and unfortunately, it should have been a lot faster. And there's some other ways it could have been done that would have been better, but we didn't live in that reality. So,
and the thing that illustrates is that we didn't know then what cryptocurrency taught us, which is you can fork. If the movement isn't doing what you think it should be doing, that's okay. Let them do their thing. Fork your own way. Find more people who feel the way you feel. And you don't have to agree on everything. You know? Because I'll tell you what, I've got some serious disagreements with some members of the Free State Project, but I'm a lot closer to them, even the ones I hate, and even the ones who hate me, than I am to your average Joe on the street. Because the bottom line is, they're going to tolerate me. They're not going to send men with clubs to go. I mean, if they want me messed up, they'll show up and try and do it themselves.
Most of them won't.
And most of them won't, because that's not how they do. They don't initiate force. So I don't care that they're different.
So, again, 603-283-6160. So the point was that the Free State Project, which was the project that brought a lot of movers here, a few thousand, couple thousand, that they haven't even finished their time window yet for the move. That ends actually in February. The 5-year window started February 2016. It is now January of 2021. So next month, at the beginning of February, I believe it's February 6th, they will be celebrating the close of that 5-year window. And we just this last year in 2020 saw a record number of people moving for the Free State Project, more so than any other year.
The more people who participate, the faster it'll grow too. So I think that's the other thing people forget. And it's one of these things. It's one of these things where
success breeds success. You mean?
Exactly. Yeah. When you have increased number of people moving and participating because they didn't even know about the project, until recently.
That's true. A lot of people didn't.
You will have more chatter, and you will have more people talking with other people who didn't know about the project, which means more people will grow. And it should grow more like exponentially than linearly.
Well, the thing that it's going to need to do, though, is it's not bringing one tribe to New Hampshire. It's bringing many tribes to New Hampshire, which are loosely aligned, okay, but able and willing to tolerate each other, and that's the important thing. And so the Free State Project needs to fork again and again.
Absolutely.
And if you think they're doing it wrong, and I think everybody who's watched them thinks they're doing it wrong in at least one respect, they're making like one mistake.
Sure.
So
it's not they're doing it.
To the
It's
extent
not they're
that
doing it
they're
wrong.
doing it wrong, you need to go in and do it right. Because there's a group of people that want exactly what the Free State Project is doing. But there's a lot of other groups of people that don't exactly agree with them that would still benefit from being here. And
Yes.
they need different sirens to draw them in.
I want to say it's not they're doing it wrong. It's we're doing it wrong, and we're solving that by forking.
Well, anybody who... there isn't a right or wrong way to do it. They appeal to a large audience.
I came
and
here.
that's their job.
I came here as part of the Free
thing
State
is-
Project. I think most of us did.
Yeah, I did too.
However, when something doesn't work, you fork it, and when you fork it, you can succeed. And when you decentralize, it makes it harder to shut down. It makes the movement even more resilient, and that's what we're doing.
And you cooperate when
you can.
when you agree.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, even a country, even a state that was full of nothing but Amanda Boldens would be infinitely preferable to the one that we've got now.
I mean, she's gotten kind
She's
of
pretty
toxic,
bad, actually.
but compared
Still,
to the status quo anywhere,
she's still probably
she
better
was
on a lot of
still
things.
a lot.
Yeah.
She would have been a lot less of a problem.
She helped
because her instincts were more or less libertarian.
Yeah, she did.
even though she lost her intellectual way.
She did help with certain drug, not decriminalization, but like
This was after she changed majorly?
Yeah, she didn't completely reverse directions. She changed
did.
her mind on
Interesting.
some important issues. But she's still basically an anti-authoritarian at heart.
I don't
even
know
if
if
she's
that's
not.
Wow, I don't know about
I don't
that,
know if
man.
I'd go that far.
Have
I don't
have you
know.
heard some of the things she said post? It certainly doesn't sound
saying
even remotely
bitter
like what she was.
things about your ex-colleagues is not the same as
it's not
a
about-
complete.
it's no.
As a complete reversal, because the bottom line
It's
is
how she
when
voted.
people. It's like when people break up, they say mean things about each other for a while.
The problem
But,
though, it's not just about what she was saying about her ex friends. It was, how she ended up voting and what she was then advocating for. Very authoritarian,
Yeah.
I thought.
Well-
But at least on some of the things.
Well, anyway, the Amanda Bolden is just one example of somebody who's fallen away from the ideas of liberty, and she's not. She's not the only person. There have been others like Chris Cantwell. He went towards a more hard right
absolutely.
direction.
I mean, we're talking about like a few people out of thousands.
Sorry, guys, you're both talking at the same time. We can't have that.
I would not want to live in a state that was full of nothing but Chris Cantwells. Amanda Bolden's I could probably tolerate.
Well, but you haven't been around her. I can tell you this. I tried to reach out to Amanda to get a comment from her about a story, and when she found out that it was me texting her, she completely ignored me. So she's trying to pander to these Democrats. She ended up marrying one of them.
She may just be mad at you.
I have no idea why that would be, but
Either.
But my point is, she
people
didn't want
get
to.
mad.
She didn't want to have a conversation. I mean, I never did anything but treat her kindly and gave her plenty of airtime on this show to talk about her charities that she did. So I mean, not that means she owes me anything, but I mean, I never did anything that was, I would say, aggressive or mean towards her.
Maybe she heard something you said after she changed, and it rubbed her the wrong way.
I did report on what she did.
It may have nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
People generalize, and when they feel like they're being attacked, sometimes they will aren't able to handle it, and they will go in a different direction because they think, well, everybody hates me. But that's
she
not
was
necessarily the
probably
case.
mad because I did report on the fact that she was involved in a case with a guy who was a state representative named Kyle Tasker at the time. He was I
remember this.
He was selling cannabis to some of the state reps and some other folks, and she got caught up in that, and she tried to kind of throw him under the bus as much as she could in that situation, and it was just an ugly.
I'm not.
Typical political.
It was kind of the beginning of the end for her, and I didn't keep her name out of the report, and so maybe she was mad about that. But regardless, the point is that when you have a movement or migration of a large number of people who are libertarians to the same place, not only is it going to be a disparate group of people that have different beliefs on different things, even though they're overall pro-freedom friendly, it's also going to be the point where you're going to find some failures. If you have 1,000 or 2,000 people, 2,000 people
They're gonna have more
migrate
failures
somewhere.
than successes.
As a matter of fact, I would say that if you want to move 20,000, people who stay completely aligned with you, you'll move 100,000 other people in the process of doing
and filter
that,
through them.
because any group of people that you move, 80% of them won't be there in 20 years.
Yep. It's true.
Yeah,
and some people come and some people go.
I think they bring energy. And they're a pleasure to be around when they're here frequently.
Yeah.
And if they leave after a while, that's okay. They graced us with their presence for a while.
I think this is some of the things that people should be looking at are how many people own property. And I think that because you can see based off the number of people, like just even in Keene, how many people own property. We've seen an increasing number of people buying
in
property and
recent
settling
years,
down.
we have seen that,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's something to look at because people talk about people coming and going all the time as if it's not like we're not increasing in numbers or something. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's not.
If you get 100, if you get 1,000 people to move to any town for any reason, most of them won't stay there.
Yeah, people will come, people will go, people will move within the state, people will move out of state, people will die. I mean,
and
that
the
happens.
thing is,
you
once
just got to keep
people
replacing
have
them.
uprooted themselves once, they're going to be more open to moving again because they're not where they started out anymore, and so they're not comparing it to where they've always been. So like, I love these other liberty migrations, and there are a few going on in the country, because once they've got people uprooted, if it doesn't work out, people will come here. If it doesn't work out,
and they almost certainly
people
won't
will
work
go
out.
there.
None of them have, except for the Free State Project one.
Well, nothing works out perfectly.
Well, most of them have completely broken up and absolutely failed. Like Free State Wyoming's website isn't even online anymore. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A record number of deaths. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. California reporting 585 deaths from COVID-19 in just one day. And health officials are also reporting more than 47,000 new daily cases as a new version of the virus appears to be spreading in the U.S.
This new highly contagious virus variant was first detected late last night in the state of Florida. It comes as public health officials are already closely tracking this virus. It spread in Colorado and California earlier this week after crossing the pond from Britain. Now, Florida public health officials tweeted at 8:15 last night saying Florida has evidence of the first identified case of the UK COVID-19 variant in Martin County. The individual is a male in his 20s with no history of travel.
Fox's Jillian Turner. The number of confirmed cases of the virus has surpassed 20 million in the U.S., according to data from Johns Hopkins University. That's nearly twice twice as many as India, the number 2 country, and nearly 1/4 of the more than 83 million cases globally. A Wisconsin pharmacist is now charged after authorities say he deliberately spoiled more than 500 doses of coronavirus vaccine.
Police in Grafton and suburban Milwaukee and federal investigators say a former pharmacist at Aurora Medical Center admits to deliberately removing 57 vials, equaling over 500 doses of the coronavirus vaccine from a refrigeration unit last week, spoiling the vaccine.
There is no evidence to suggest that this individual tampered with any other vaccine. This individual is no longer employed by us.
Aurora's Dr. Jeff Barr says almost 60 doses were given to patients, which were later deemed less effective. The employee now charged with first-degree recklessly endangering safety, adulterating a prescription drug, and criminal damage to property. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
And America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Vice President Mike Pence is asking a federal judge to toss out a lawsuit seeking to overturn election results.
The lawsuit filed by GOP Congressman Louis Gohmert and other Republicans claims Vice President Mike Pence has the power to invalidate Electoral College votes. A Justice Department lawyer argues the plaintiffs have sued the wrong person and that it is the House and Senate that have responsibility for certifying election results. The Vice President calls the lawsuit a walking contradiction. Republicans may try to challenge President-elect Joe Biden's win during a joint session of Congress next week. GOP Senator Josh Hawley has said he will object to the results. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
The number of murders and shootings in Chicago went up dramatically in 2020, according to statistics released today by police. After 3 years of decreases in the number of murders, 2020 had 769, 274 more than 2019, and the most since 2016. And there were over 4,000 shootings compared with over 2,500 in 2019. Today is Public Domain Day, when works from 1925 are now free for all to use and build on.
The most notable works from 1925 entering the public domain this year are The Great Gatsby and Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, as well as works by Agatha Christie and Sinclair Lewis. There's plenty of music, too, with works by Irving Berlin, Duke Ellington, and George and Ira Gershwin, with blues from W.C. Handy and Ma Rainey. Works from 1925 were supposed to go into the public domain.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
CEO Jeff Potkel went berserk earlier this morning, becoming drenched in his own blood and the blood of several employees as he viciously demanded the staff produce more web video content, or he would, quote, kill them all.
We need more videos! Videos with bands! Random videos! Funny videos! I want a video with a celebrity! I don't give a shit which one! You think this is funny? I'll show you funny!
He threw our office manager's body against the door and then told us that nobody could leave unless we came up with 3 original video ideas. Then he made us watch as he bit his own tongue in half.
People don't want to read! They want videos! They want to sit at work and watch videos! Videos need to go viral! 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 Viral!
This is
the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Kicking off the third hour here, and you can join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
And we started the show out tonight talking briefly about a party that got thrown last night. And, you know, I don't want to talk about it to rub it in or anything like that, but just to explain where we were. We actually had a guy call in saying he was worried that we'd been raided because the show wasn't on video.
He's not the only one, actually. There's actually was a bunch of people who thought that.
Really?
Yeah, even people at the party thought were like, "Oh, I thought we were about to be raided."
When we were out smoking weed in the car, we thought we were being raided.
Yeah.
But, you know,
what I meant was people thought
turn out
the
to be
studio
true.
was raided because we weren't.
Oh, the studio?
Yeah, the caller earlier said he was worried that we were raided, as in Free Talk Live had been raided because we weren't on video last night.
I hate it when that happens.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, don't jump to those conclusions. If we're not on video, that's either some sort of technical
Somebody forgot
difficulty
to turn the cameras on.
Most likely, it's me forgetting.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was actually we were talking about during the episode that it was a pre-recorded episode. So that should have been pretty clear that we weren't here, and we couldn't mention yesterday why we weren't here. But now we can. And the reason why was because of this party that, I thought was important to have this event go on, because there has not been a good party since Forkfest. It's
true.
Yeah, Forkfest was a great party. I mean, we had a good time, and we're going to have a good one again coming up here in 2021.
Honestly, this was a blast. Like, I don't even think Forkfest, it could beat this. I mean,
it was a better party than we had. I mean, as far as just at once, Forkfest is a week-long party, so it's different.
Absolutely different.
But as far as it's fun, but 6-hour party, then this was pretty epic.
I'm still waiting for the Forkfest that runs from spring to fall, though, because that's going to be a hell of a party.
Yeah, keep waiting on that one.
Yeah. All it takes is a small core of people to form, and it can keep going all summer.
You know what's funny?
What they need is a cheap piece of land to do it on.
I kind of see what you're saying.
Form a village.
I kind of see what you're saying.
And stay there.
But I kind of feel like Forkfest is what I have all year round in Keene, New Hampshire.
That's the thing.
I don't know. Like, I went to
all
Forkfest
we need
before.
Is a place to camp, and we've got Forkfest all year round. There'll always be a few people there hanging out and partying.
Most people won't want to camp during the wintertime.
Yeah, and the thing is,
that's true. That's why I said spring to fall.
Forkfest is like a little glimpse of what New Hampshire is like. That's how I've always seen it.
It's like a little slice of anarchy.
Yeah.
So having a little slice of anarchy is what we're here for, right?
Yeah, and I feel like because those are the people I'm around, the same types of people, I feel like my Forkfest is year-round, but just by being here. And I know it's not quite the same, it's not camping, but it's still, I'm still always constantly surrounded by people and events and things going on and having a good time.
The thing is, what I want to see happen is eventually to have basically a small community grow up in New Hampshire for sufficiently small values of growing up, and have it there permanently, so it's like the kind of the permanent resort for the people who have moved to New Hampshire and the people who haven't moved to New Hampshire yet.
I think that would be great to do too, but it's like it's still, it's one of these things where it's like you're looking to make it even better. Right.
I'm looking to make it even better, and I'm looking to make it easier for people to move here. And what a community like that would do would give people an opportunity to establish some kind of an agorist enterprise.
Well, the good news is we already have across the state, there are what's called market days.
Yeah.
In fact, there's going to be one coming up here in the Keene area on Saturday. There are people that come to a specific place. I won't say where, but they come to a specific place, and they have the trading that you're talking about. People do offer their various different wares and such. There's one in Manchester. There's one on the seacoast. I don't know about the North Country, but there are some of them across the state. And they happen monthly.
But if you get the population up to the point where I think it eventually will be, because basically I think there's going to be a lot of refugees in the near future. You know, I think we're going to be filling up a lot. And one of the big things we're going to need is cheap real estate to keep these people on. You can't be cheaper than a campground because there's nothing there.
The real estate's starting to get more expensive. At least houses are, but campgrounds may be available.
That makes it a good investment, too. Maybe not as good as Bitcoin, but...
So I wanted to get back to the story about what happened here last night. There were dozens of people, maybe upwards of 70 plus people that came to this party. It was really a lot of fun.
There were definitely more than dozens of people there.
I said maybe 70 or
70,
so.
definitely.
We had over 113 that were confirmed, but of course a lot of people last minute didn't show up. And so we, the whole reason was there was just so many lame things going on this year. You know, dance parties that were so-called online dance parties where people, were told that they should stay in their living room and dance, alone.
That's not what took away from the party here in Keene.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying that's what inspired the party here in Keene.
Right.
Is the fact that there were so many.
I thought you were saying that like online dance parties took away from the number of people that were.
No, not at all. What I was saying was that's what inspired it, in that there's so many lame-o online things that were going on, and trying to sound like they were fun. And I'm sorry, the whole point of a party is to get together with people so you can network and talk and meet people that you've never met before and have fun and make connections in real life. You can't have that experience over a Zoom call.
And once in a while, you may catch a social disease, but that's the choice of socializing.
It's kind of funny. Maybe not everybody knows on the radio, but I go to I did go to a lot of conferences, and there's been a lot of conferences,
Linux shows,
online this year. Because they couldn't operate, they couldn't set up in anywhere basically. But what's interesting is I didn't go to a single conference online virtually. And
why not?
Why bother? I mean, it's not the same thing. It's not the same experience.
You can sit and watch a presentation, but that's not the reason you go to a conference.
It's to interact with other people.
Constantly at the equivalent of a users convention of Linux, because I'm constantly on the web searching for information about it. So I see those people online all the time. I want to see them in person,
in real life.
It's kind of funny because I've had multiple times in the past month I felt like I was at a Linux convention.
Well, maybe
it's just because of the type of people who come here.
If nobody else has the stones, maybe we can get 30 people to gather in Keene for a weekend.
It's not the first time people have had this discussion. To be honest, I think with Derek, Jay, and Steven, there's been other people who have also talked about something of that nature.
And the thing is, it could be a combination. It could also be a cryptocurrency.
It would be.
And we need to get the GNU people to start talking to the Bitcoin people more.
Yeah. So here's an idea, because the problem with the conference these days is most venues won't let you have them unless you go with
if
COVID.
You got a big empty piece of land, they will.
So, but not land. You don't want to have it outside during the when it's cold, and most people won't want to go to a conference unless it's inside.
Do. Great big barns.
Yep, and there's actually was a conference at a barn. The Bruce from the Ravencoin, the guy who created Ravencoin, he actually held a cryptocurrency conference on his own property inside his own barn last year. It wasn't this year, but it was last year, and it was great. It was real small, real intimate, like less than 100 people, probably less than 50 people, but real intimate. But what I wanted to say was I heard an interesting story from Steven from AnyPay yesterday. So as you may know, Stephen and Derek, they have the Bitcoin, not embassy, but they have like a university, like a Bitcoin. It's their headquarters. It's the AnyPay headquarters.
Sure.
And it's located in downtown Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Well, they got a new building now, and it's multiple stories.
Really?
Their new building is larger. It's a larger space. Now, I'm not sure how big it is, but the current space they have is not bad. So the larger one, they're saying maybe forget if he said it was 2 or 3 stories. But anyway, what happened was they were talking to the landlord of the owner of this property about renting it, and the landlord came back with a price on what he wanted for it. Now, of course, we know that commercial real estate is emptying out, right?
So
they're going to be desperate.
Yes. Stephen came back with an offer that was 20% of what this guy had asked for.
Yeah.
And he got it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Got it. So they're paying less than than what they're currently paying for their old place, and they're getting even more space. 20%.
I'm in talks with somebody in Keene.
More coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
Scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the drain. Third vet said, it's the weather. Then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
If you're looking for work, there's a piece of paper more important than your resume. It's the cover letter attached if you're snail mailing, or the email to which you attach your resume. Make it 4 short paragraphs. Paragraph 1, say that you're applying for work. The person you're sending to gets a ton of mail about all sorts of things. If you have a password, that's your first sentence. Tom Nelson tells me you and I should meet. Paragraph 2, what you do and how that relates to the opening. Be as specific as possible. Paragraph 3, why you want this particular job. I'm originally from Boston, so I know the market well. I have family and friends in the area, so this would be a homecoming for me. Paragraph 4, unless the job posting stipulates no calls, and I will call you to follow up. Thank you in advance for your time. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to MyMagicMud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. MyMagicMud.com, FTL20.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. The phone number for you, 603-283-6160. If you want to join the show, you can bring up whatever you want. We're talking about having an actual liberty community of people together in the same place. That's what we actually have here in New Hampshire, and it's growing with the largest number of migrants, people moving here to New Hampshire who care about freedom, libertarians, voluntarists, liberty-loving anarchists, coming here as part of a New Hampshire freedom migration that is decentralized. There are different folks that are encouraging people to move here, but all the people moving have, in one way or another, a freedom-friendly viewpoint. And the more people that we can get here, the better. So we had a really great New Year's Eve party last night, which thankfully the police did not do anything about. Now, they definitely knew where we were for this party because we're right on what's called Route 101 here in New Hampshire. It's one of the main southern routes across all of southeast, actually it goes from, I believe, the seacoast all the way out to the west end of New Hampshire, the boundary to Vermont. And so there were, of course, lots of really amazing lights. There was thousands of dollars worth of lighting and sound equipment at this party, and it showed. It looked amazing. But as you drove by, you couldn't miss it. I mean, literally, the light beams from the disco balls were being projected across the road onto like the forest that was on the other side. But it was really an ideal location because there were no neighbors, so there's no houses or any kind of residential that were right next door. So there's no way we could have been upsetting anybody as far as noise or whatever from the party. And there's plenty of loud music and all that. There's no way the cops could have driven by and not noticed what was going on.
For sure.
Not noticed an entirely full parking lot it was like a 50-space parking lot that was mostly full, and that parking lot has been completely empty for the entire year because this business shut down, which was kind of the sad
I remember
part.
when it shut down because it shut down just after they opened the new building.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that. No, it had been open for a couple of years prior to that. The property itself was purchased by the current owner and remodeled completely. Basically, she tore this old shack down that was on there.
I remember going to the old building and then the new one, and
it'd been a couple of years.
It wasn't up long. I know that.
Yeah, a couple of years. But it was a successful place. That's why she bought it. Yeah, right? Like it was a successful breakfast and lunch place. But as we reported
then she must have had to highly leverage to do it, so that
she seems to be pretty well off as far as her resources are concerned. But she's now being more tapped out than she's ever been due to these failed businesses.
Yeah.
Because what happened as we reported,
state shut down businesses.
Yeah,
we can fix that.
What happened was the summertime we reported on a story where Yelp, which is the online ratings system, it's an app. People can leave ratings for businesses. Yelp had come out with statistics showing that 60% of the businesses that had closed due to the government restrictions were never going to reopen, that 60% of them were permanently closed. Of that 60%, they looked at the categories of businesses. What sort of business was this? Well, the number one category of most closed permanently businesses was breakfast and lunch places.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah. They count on the daily business.
Correct. And breakfast and lunch is, not, as far as restaurants go, those aren't going to be the places that attract the most business
or profits,
just
probably
overall, or profits. And so those were the ones that were going down, and that's what this place was where we were partying last night. So it was kind of ironic and appropriate that we threw this party inside this shell of this formerly successful breakfast and lunch place that was killed by the government restrictions.
Yeah. Well, what my church is looking to do is open up some kind of a fellowship hall somewhere in Keene. Place where people can chill out and get some of the services they can't get anywhere else, where they can go and get breakfast and maybe have a pretty waitress who knows that, she knows they know she's not going to bust their balls over masks. They can be comfortable, they can enjoy themselves, they can socialize, and they can get some of that spiritual food that we get from interacting with other humans.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And so I wanted to talk about an alternative party that was going on in France, according to RT.com, where there were over 2,000 people. And we thought we were doing good at like 60 or 70 people, but
of course,
in our defense,
is bigger.
In our defense, the population of Cheshire County is only 80,000 people compared to a city of millions.
A lot of people actually came from outside of Cheshire County. We have folks coming from as far away as the seacoast. For this
but still,
party.
there's cities that are bigger than all of New Hampshire. I think it's a little little bit unfair to say it wasn't successful. Or
no, I'm not saying it wasn't successful, but it was dwarfed by what went on in France. But that said, unlike France, the cops left us alone.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to us, and they were sitting right down the road when we were arriving at the party. They were running a speed trap. They had a speed trap in Dublin, actually. So
they didn't even pull any of us over for the speed trap, did they?
They didn't.
Wow, they didn't want to play.
Well, also we let people know that there was a speed trap there, so that could be a factor as well.
Good communications.
I did get followed actually when I drove back from as soon as I entered Keene. They followed me all the way home.
It wasn't just you, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it probably wasn't, but it was. They were bored out of their mind, I think.
There weren't any other parties around. How many parties were like what we did last night were going on all around the planet? It must be a limited number, right? I don't know.
Definitely
dead.
Probably been the least partied
New Year's Eve
ever,
right?
Since the 1600s.
It was deader
or something
than a normal night in Keene.
Yeah,
that's how bad it was.
Yep,
dead as a doornail.
Let me give you the story.
We were
here.
having a good old time. There was pretty girls and everything.
We had 3 DJs, music that went on for 5 hours straight. We did karaoke, which is also prohibited, so it's illegal by governor's orders to have karaoke indoors in New Hampshire.
Yep. I'll bet they'd have a fit if we had strippers for a fundraiser.
Oh, those are good ideas for next time.
An attempt to disperse a massive illegal New Year's party in France's northwest turned into clashes between the, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, gendarmerie. That's gendarmerie.
It's French. Nobody can pronounce
the police
it right.
is what it means. The police.
Okay.
And rowdy partygoers who pelted officers with projectiles and set a police car on fire.
Fornicate the constables.
They must have gone in totally unprepared for this. But you think about how many cops they probably would have. They would have needed thousands. And they would have had to prepare in advance because so when they do those types of things, they basically will imprison, they have to set up cages and stuff and just all sorts of things well in advance of these types of events in order to have enough places to actually put people after they arrest them.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they had guns, it would be impossible to arrest them. Not difficult. Impossible.
It would have been difficult because you would have ended up slaughtering people.
Well, you would have ended up being slaughtered because there are a lot more of them than there are cops. And when the people are more ready to give their lives than the cops are, and that's not hard because the cops are basically cowards. That's why they attack in gangs. When the people are more ready to give their lives than the cops are, we win.
So we'll tell you more about what happened what happened with these 2,000 plus revelers in France holding what was called an underground party there as well overnight in the town of Lyon in defiance of anti-coronavirus restrictions banning mass gatherings. There's a ton of people there, and I don't see a single mask in the place.
Yay, defiance!
Kudos to them, and it looked like it was a pretty awesome party. Police failed to stop it. More coming up.
Doodle, Stuart, Harold, and Pork Chop. Pork Chop, his beautiful blonde coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. They did a DNA test on the 4 rescues. The first year is just a complete retraining. Lots of love, discipline, and daily upkeep. I'm a registered nurse and a personal trainer. If I eat healthy, then my dog should eat healthy. DINOVITE.com. They need the vitamins and minerals that Dynovite provides.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Harold, the Border Collie Pit Mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. Doodle, he's a poodle cocker spaniel. His energy is tremendous. The Dynovite will make your dog happy, vivacious, jump up and down, wag their tails. It will make you smile.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynovite at DINOVITE.com.
Free Talk Live.
I wouldn't snitch them out. I would report them to the police.
Right.
Okay, now
call it what you want, sir.
Now, many states have laws about carrying firearms, even though their constitutions say that it's legal for everyone to own a firearm.
Like New York State.
There's no way to ban it. Would you snitch out somebody that you knew had a firearm?
If they had it illegally, I wouldn't snitch them out. I would report them.
Right.
I got to say, you're a bad American, Ken.
Yeah, I think you're a scumbag, Ken.
You're a communist.
I'm
a communist.
I'm a communist because I want people to be able to carry guns like the Second Amendment says?
He'd snitch on the person, and then the cops would come and infringe it for him.
Felons out there carrying guns at will?
I'm a convicted felon. Do you think I shouldn't be able to protect my wife from an intruder?
I don't think you should have a gun.
How am I going to protect myself if the guy has a gun?
There are many other ways to protect yourself than not having a gun.
You should call the cops, Mark, like any good citizen.
That way the cops can come clean up my corpse after it's all over, right?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. And the number is 603-283-6160. What were your New Year's Eve plans? Did you have an epic party to go to somewhere? I hope you did. There probably weren't that many of them, but I got to say, this is the best New Year's Eve party I've been to. It's the best probably ever. Oh, sorry, nobody.
What is it with you and my microphone tonight? You're shushing me up.
You talk too much.
I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
I'm a radio host. That's what I do.
What were you going to say?
Huh?
That was good.
Oh, I don't know.
So I was asking if anybody else had any New Year's Eve stories they wanted to share from this year. But there was definitely a story in France, and we're going to get into that. But don't forget to check out ForkFest.party. We mentioned it earlier tonight. ForkFest is happening in 2021. That's this year now, June 28th through July 4th. Go ahead and mark your calendar. Better yet, get in touch with Rogers Campground and book the campsite. Book your campsite, your RV site, or your motel room, and plan to come up and hang out with us and party, because I'm sure there's going to be a party or 2 or 3 or 10 at ForkFest. But how many there are, I don't know, because it's decentralized, which means that we don't get to decide these things. Each individual decides what to do, what to bring to the table, what sort of things to create, what tents that they want to put up there for people to hang out in and do things in. It's a lot of fun, so you don't want to miss it.
Well, I'm going to make 3 predictions for this year.
Okay.
First off, it's going to be the biggest one we've had.
Okay.
Second off, it's going to start early and end late.
Well, everybody gets to decide when it starts and when it ends, right? Because it's not centralized.
My prediction is that people will stay later and come earlier.
Could be. It was like 2 weeks this year. Maybe it'll go longer this time, but we're only promoting 1 week because we know that some people we know that some people have jobs that they have to go to and they can't come up.
Not everybody's unemployed right now.
But a lot of them don't these days, and that's one of the reasons I expect it to be big, because it's one of the few places where you can go. It's like a Grateful Dead show. You can go there with very little money and make people sandwiches and make enough money to pay for your trip.
Nobody. That might be the stereotype around here. However, it's not true.
What's that?
Free staters being unemployed.
Oh, well, no, but in the land of the Branch Covidians, there's a lot of people unemployed.
A lot of people are out of work.
That's true.
All those closed restaurants used to employ somebody. All of those jobs were essential to the person who was doing them.
If I had to take an educated guess, I bet there's fewer free staters that are unemployed right now than not. Than the general population, I meant.
Now, when you say free staters, you mean people who have yet to move?
People who have moved for the Free State Project or other migrations.
But what about the people who've yet to move?
I'm talking about people
they're
who
probably
are
more likely
else.
to be unemployed because they're not here. And people who are here tend to be more likely to own their own businesses and more independent and so on.
Plus, New Hampshire actually is, I think, still in the top 5 states as far as unemployment is concerned.
Right.
So we're actually doing all right.
Yeah. That means best, not worst.
Correct. So anyway, go to forkfest.party. You can learn more about the event there. And we're promoting it as June 28th through July 4th. If you want to come later or come earlier or stay later or stay earlier, then that's cool too.
Well, I'll go one step further out on that limb, and I'll also promote the week before, which is PorkFest, which is a good time. Maybe you want to get your feet wet in Minarchy before you come and see Anarchy, because that can be overpowering. But so come up for both, or come up for either. We'd love to have you. See you here.
So what happened last night? The town of Leuron in France, according to RT.
Unfortunately named town.
RT.com. What does that mean?
Is that by the Huron River?
What does Leuron mean?
Oh, Leuron?
It's spelled Leuron. Leuron.
Oh, I heard Huron. I was God, that's an awful name. At least it's not a river.
Well, now we know what they did in it.
So it attracted between 2,000 and 2,500 revelers, many of whom appeared to have come from other places of France and from abroad. According to the prefecture of Ille-et-Vilaine has said, local cops were dispatched to the scene to break up the rave, but the partygoers were clearly not ready to stop celebrating and fended off the police. Yeehaw! Police officers were pelted with this, literally fighting for their right to party. The officers were pelted with various objects, 3 of them sustaining light injuries, and at least one of their vehicles torched. Footage from the scene circulating online shows the car engulfed in flames with onlookers cheering in the background. It's cold out there right now. What better way to warm up than a burning police cruiser?
Oh, yeah.
The revelers have reportedly been very determined to continue partying, and law enforcement agents ultimately opted to cordon off the area to prevent more people from joining the rave.
It became an autonomous zone by the choice of the
police. Yeah.
I really have to wonder, how many cops did they think? I mean, it sounds like a couple of cops showed up and tried to do something. As you would think they would have had more cops.
I think they probably had
if they're going to try and target
cops. It? But the thing is,
so you think there was a few hundred? So it doesn't say in the story how many.
Was. But the thing is, it doesn't take much of a crowd of 80,000 to fight back to make a couple of hundred cops feel real unwelcome real fast.
Yeah.
And these guys didn't become cops because they've got balls of steel. If they'd had balls of steel, they would have become lobster fishermen.
If they've only got a couple hundred cops compared to a couple thousand people, they had no chance.
Oh, they torched a police van too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a van.
It didn't take many people to burn down a police station in Milwaukee.
So, according to the story here, the party...
Minnesota.
This actually reminds me of kind of something that the cops did here in Keene, in New Hampshire, back in 2014 when there was what were called the Pumpkin Fest riots. So every year there had been the Pumpkin Fest, which is generally just like this family-friendly festival where people have carved pumpkins and, they walk around Main Street. But
These crazy bastards from Keene, New Hampshire sure do love their pumpkins.
A few streets over was the college neighborhood, and during the daytime there were some, what I've heard are termed as darties, day parties going on that were broken up by the police, and the frustrated and drunken college students then poured into the streets and were angry at the point, they'd had their parties broken up.
See, I grew up in a college town. I know you don't frustrate drunken college students. That's a bad plan.
Well, that's what they did, and that resulted in what were called, again, the Pumpkin Fest riots. And during these riots, they were going on for a series of hours, so I finally made it. I was able to get down there before I had to go to do the show that night, I think. And I observed a massive crowd of people on one of the college streets. They were fighting each other with bottles. They were throwing...
Oh, yeah, the bottle fights.
Yeah, the bottle war. It went on for like 15 straight minutes. It was insane. They were throwing like full cans of beer and bottles at each other. It's incredibly dangerous to do this. And, I don't think
But if it's consensual, it's also dangerous to jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Well, it wasn't consensual because they were littering everywhere, and it was terrible. But the point I wanted to make about it was that is the police make the claim that they're there to protect and serve. Now, we all know that the truth is they're protecting and serving the state and their masters in government. They're not serving you or protecting you or precting the property owners in this particular case.
They're protecting brave Sununu.
What they did... Not in this case. Actually, I don't even think Sununu was in office at that time.
But they're defending the likes of him. They're defending the masters.
Yeah, they're not going to defend the property owners in this particular case, which were having their properties destroed because of this. But what they did,
I'm sure they got paid for it, though. Students have been losing their security deposits since. Before the federal government got involved.
This was
in
outside,
education.
though, in the street, right?
Yeah, you're not going to lose your security deposit if it wasn't you that was participating.
Were there like vehicles being damaged and things like that? Is that the
there
property
were just a ton of garbage being thrown everywhere. Bottles and cans and things like that just being littered in yards and various different destructive drunk college students around. So the point I wanted to make was the cops were around, but they were another street over, and they'd set up like a perimeter around this. So somebody went over there to talk to the police about, hey, there's all this violence going on right over here. You guys know there's a big fight going on, right? There's a bunch of people that are fighting and destroying things, and the cops' response was, we're containing it.
Out here in the perimeter.
Yeah, cops have no obligation to protect you.
Right. So that's the same thing they did here. They set up a perimeter around the party, and they let the party continue because they got fought off by the ravers in France last night. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. from wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. If you want to join us, you can dial in here. 603-283-6160 is our number. That's 603-283-6160. What was your New Year's Eve like? Did you have an epic party like they did in France, where apparently, according to RT.com, as of early Friday, the party was continuing despite the police presence? So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm guessing that means they went till the sun came up at the very least. With over 2,000 attendees, the cops tried to break in and destroy the fun that these people were having. These partiers refused to allow it to happen. And
ain't nobody got time for that.
And they torched at least one of the police vehicles and also pelted officers with projectiles. So they drove these cops back. These cops retreated and they set up a perimeter around the party. They were trying to stop more people from arriving at that point. They tried to, and that's probably was successful, right? Because you have to drive in. You don't have a large group. You're more susceptible to being targeted. In that case.
Thing is, if they can keep it going long enough, I predict that people from all over the country will start going there.
Well, it was just a New Year's Eve party, so there's no way that it's going to go on longer than an overnight through the morning hours.
The problem with having things that go on for a long period of time is you need things like bathrooms and other facilities in order to keep people fed, and I don't think that's likely in a situation like this.
You never know. It happened in somewhere in the Netherlands. I don't know where. There was some place where they were basically they were partying on some property that was abandoned. And they kept partying there for so long that they lived there and they wouldn't leave. And the government pretty much has had to have an uneasy truce with them since the 70s. They're just there in the middle of this town.
I'm kind of familiar with the kind of situation you're talking
the
about.
The autonomous zone idea.
It's one of the things that the people will do is they will bring their own facilities, and usually it's like camping kind of facilities, right. and so they can manage it, but
you can build.
It's still
over
something
time.
that you've got to but you still something you got to plan for. I mean, you need temporary facilities, and as things grow, you need to get more facilities in and so on.
Now, sadly, the downside of this story is that the people who were, I guess, involved, there was an aid group that was distributing masks at this party. Now, to be fair, when I watched the video footage, I didn't see a single person wearing a mask. So I don't know.
Hey, if they want to wear masks and they're still out partying, I say more power to them.
Right, but the point I'm trying to make here is that I didn't see very many people wearing masks. So this particular aid group was trying to give health advice, antivirus gel inside the party. They said ravers needed to let loose. He said they were trying to stay safe by not sharing joints or drinks. Their group, Techno Plus, was advertised... Well, hold on. Was advising partygoers to self-isolate for a week and then get tested after attending the rave. Yes,
interesting. They're such medical authorities that they don't know that alcohol is an antiseptic.
So they're trying to act like, oh, well, we were being responsible with this rave. It's like, come on, just embrace the fact that you want to...
Was it just a few Emilys or whatever showed up?
Could be.
You know,
to bust their balls.
I have to say, even at our party, there was a mask goer.
Was there?
Well, I would rather have a mask goer at the party than a mask goer.
Someone was wearing a mask
than a mask bearer hiding under his bed.
Talking about Stone?
No, Bob wore a mask.
I didn't see him.
It was a costume.
I'm gonna get a gorilla mask,
and he only wore it for a little bit, but he did. It was kind of funny.
I see.
I need a gorilla mask.
France, the story in France here, the group also said the disused hangar was airy and well ventilated. So just trying to make as many excuses as possible. So look, just embrace it. You guys threw a great party. People came. They had fun. You shouldn't have to worry about it because honestly, this so-called coronavirus, this disease, is not worth worrying about.
Just
it's not worth it.
Especially
within, I won't do what you tell me.
Right.
Especially within the age range that is attracting these partygoers. I mean,
yeah, these were 20-somethings. Yeah, I mean, teens and 20-somethings.
Even older than that, though, it doesn't have the same impact that it does on an elderly population. So
even then, if you're elderly, you still need to be like obese and mortified or whatever in order to.
All I'm saying is that it's not like these are 100-year-old people throwing a party. I mean, these are people under 50 mostly, and people under 50 have basically no chance of dying.
Even
and
people over 50
have they've got a short time to remain under 50, and being over 50, I can tell you, it's a lot easier pushing 50 than it is pulling it. Do your living while you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So kudos to this group that actually fought off the police and pushed them back. Now, what does that mean the cops are going to do? Well, they say prosecutors, this is theguardian.com, this is getting reports in a lot of places. Prosecutors were considering an array of possible criminal charges. The party took place despite France's 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Against who, though?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I guess they could arrest anyone coming from the party, right? They surrounded the place.
I mean, they didn't have enough cops to arrest 2,500 people.
Not all in the same place, but as they're coming out, maybe they'll try to do something.
But then they wouldn't have had the evidence at that point
do
that they were at the party.
Is everybody's got to agree on when to leave the party and then just blitzkrieg them. Just go past them in all directions faster than they know so they don't know whether to poop or go blind.
So, I wouldn't worry about any criminal charges coming out of this. As you said, Chris, they wouldn't be able to prove that the people were actually at the party unless they admitted it, right?
Yeah, what they'll do is they'll target, and this is just standard police procedures, they're going to target a couple of people.
They want the organizers.
They'll target the stragglers also if they can catch stragglers, because that's when the numbers are lower. I always cleared at the end of the 420 rally when we were down to a couple dozen people. I'd always say, all right, let's clear the square.
All at once.
All at the same time, and let's all go in the same direction so none of us can be easily picked off.
Yeah, there was one night at the Nightcaps this year where we had 36 in a row parties right in the center of downtown Keene. So just so people know, the New Year's Eve party was not the first party of 2020 here in Keene. We literally had 36 parties in a row right in the heart of downtown Keene, publicly located.
Party 36 weeks in a row when I was a drug dealer.
I mean, I have to say that that was more consistent. I in college, I threw a party for 2 years, almost wasn't every weekend, but it was during the school year, almost every weekend, it felt like.
Yeah.
And I have to say that 36 weeks in a row way outdid us. Yeah.
And we were not, hiding that one. That was we weren't hiding this one either. Last night, it was obvious where we were.
Shooting off fireworks.
Yeah.
You can't get any more non-hidey than that.
That's for
Hello,
sure.
we're here. Here's bright noise, bright light, and loud noise. If you can't find us.
Well, that was at midnight when the fireworks went off. Prior to that, we had the party started at 8:00, so we had loud music and lights for hours before that, and we're on one of the main drags.
Are you talking about the 36 nightcaps? Because there were some fireworks there too.
We did fireworks there too.
Yeah, that's why I'm just curious.
Yeah, that was the one thing that did attract the cops to those.
Well, right, because we were in the heart of downtown Keene in that particular.
And there weren't quite as many people either.
Setting off fireworks at 3 a.m. But
nightcaps weren't as well attended as the New Year's Eve party, but we did have
it was a
several
good
people.
Well, it's something we can
for
build
what it
on.
was.
Maybe next year we can start getting 100+ out to nightcap, but we're gonna need to bring kegs and strippers.
The problem,
Bring them from the college.
The problem with doing it every single weekend is nobody, or I should say almost nobody has, the time to put into something like that. Except
nobody doesn't even almost have the time for that.
I know, right? Like this is what I'm talking about.
Got time
so
for
it's
that.
people like often will criticize. Well, you don't have a lot of people. Well, yeah, because we've done it 36 weeks in a row. I mean, how many people do you think can afford to put in every single week for 36 weeks?
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. But that doesn't mean you can't get a good group of people to come out to say a New Year's Eve party.
Let's do one as a bonfire.
In Central Square, you mean?
Yes, the cops come out and oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
Yeah, well, they would actually call they would actually call the fire department, I think, on that one.
That's the cool thing in France is the firemen have been fighting back against the police, and they've got this crazy combat tactic. Like when they taught me to knife fight, they said the first thing you should do is cut yourself because it convinces your opponent
that you're crazy
and it's terrifying. And so, but these firefighters were dousing themselves in fuel and setting themselves on fire, but they were wearing their fire suits, so they were fighting people, and they were on fire.
Right, that's awesome.
And as Richard Pryor said, when you're on fire, people get out your way.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for joining me here tonight, and Happy New Year to everybody out there. We of course continue to be live 7 nights a week here on Free Talk Live. Check out Chris, freedomdecrypted.com. His show is every Saturday, so that'll be tomorrow,
5 p.m.
Yep, Eastern Time. We got more coming up tomorrow. Join us online, freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm.